Hello everyone, this is Recap Revelations. Today we're entering the fascinating world of the film The Butterfly Effect. Warning, fresh spoilers ahead. Hold on tight, keep an eye out for the exciting adventure, and enjoy the ride. The story begins with a scene in which we see a man trying to get away from the situation by hiding beneath the table and writing something down in a hurry before people break in and take him captive. Following that, we travel back in time 13 years to when he was a child. We also get to meet Evan, a small child who lives with his mother and is longing for his cherished father. He is curious about whether or not his father will return. During the time that Evan is entering school, his teacher unexpectedly calls his mother to his classroom in order to meet with her and observe an extremely unsettling drawing that Evan had made earlier in class. Evan's mother, who is concerned about him, takes him to the Sunnyvale facility to have his memories examined. The doctor then tells his mother that he will manage a diary to assist him. During the time that Evan is using his diary, he experiences severe memory blackouts and is put in potentially hazardous situations. Evan's childhood recollections are filled with terrible events. Beginning with Kaylee's mad father filming him for a light pornographic movie, in addition to Kaylee when the two of them were naked and exposed to the camera and her father pedophilic objectives while they were both young and vulnerable. He's mad father who assaults him immediately when he visits him for the first time for no apparent reason. When unfortunately, he passes away shortly after that, he attends his dad's sad funeral. 6 years later, he remembers that when he was a teenager, Kaylee, her brother Tommy, and their buddy Lenny grabbed an explosive from Kaylee's father's stash and attempted to detonate it in a neighbor's mailbox as a joke. Unfortunately, Lenny experienced major injuries as a result of this attempt. There is a hypnosis treatment that Evan's mother sends him to delve into his brain's deepest memories. However, Evan is so stressed out that he is unable to walk through the process, and he begins to panic, with his nose bleeding continuously. Later, when Evan and Kaylee were kissing, Tommy discovered it and became very upset. When he was humiliated by another child, he took out all of his anger on him and began punching and kicking him very hard to demonstrate to them how angry he could be and that they should not mess with him. But things are about to get much worse. Tommy has prepared his horrific vengeance by beating Evan and Kaylee, and he is going to teach them a terrible lesson by setting fire to Evan's dog in the most vicious way imaginable, while Evan begs for mercy for his wounded dog. As a result of the event with the mailbox, Evan's mother decides to relocate to a different place and leave everything that is negative behind. As the truck departs the house, Evan makes a promise to Kaylee that he will return. When the blackout seemed to have disappeared 7 years later, when Evan was an adult student attending college, a girl discovered his diary and asked him to read some things from it. Shortly after that, he is brought back to the cruel incident in which Tommy burns his poor dog to ashes, and he is left helpless as he listens to Tommy's words of vengeance and cruel behavior. After some time had passed, he went back to the diary and recalled another horrifying event that occurred during the mailbox incident. He recalled that a mother and her infant approached the mailbox to open it as usual, and it exploded, leaving Lenny stunned by the blast. Evan makes an effort to find a way to retrieve the memories that he has erased from his father's history, but his mother is hesitant to give him the complete truth of the situation. Visiting together with his mother, a psychic, she claims that he does not have a soul and does not belong among the living. In order to find out what occurred with Kaylee, he pays her a visit and makes an effort to bring up unpleasant memories from her father's basement. As a result, Kaylee develops feelings of emotional hatred toward him. After this, he receives a message from Tommy, Kaylee's brother, informing him that Kaylee has committed suicide. He then goes to her funeral and places the note that he had written to her on her grave when he left her. He begins reading again in his diary, this time with the intention of changing the time where the events are taking place. Getting right through Kaylee's father's basement awful memory, he succeeds in convincing her father by any means necessary that he is doing a fatal error that will hurt his family's future in the long distance, filling his mind with the idea that Tommy is the one who needs to be dealt with, and not Kaylee. The entire chain of events is changing, and he is finding himself in an alternate time in which Kaylee becomes his beloved girlfriend. While he is in a state of shock, he comes to the realization that the wheel of time has changed, and it appears to be the most ideal time for him when he finds himself making love to Kaylee in order to feel the highest top of his heart. When he surprises Kaylee with the most romantic marriage proposal, with the proper mood, and with a heartbreakingly pure moment, when he tells her that she is the one, things appear the brightest. The interruption occurred right as he was about to begin his first statement, and he found himself facing Tommy once more in a fierce fight. In this fight, he let out all of his pent-up rage about what he had done to him in the past by spraying his eyes and punching him as hard as he could, which ultimately led to Tommy's death on the grass. As a consequence of this, he was condemned to prison, but his fellow inmates treated him very poorly and abused him on multiple occasions, all the while making fun of the entries he had written in his personal diary. He's distracting the mind of his enemies, thinking he's in their custody with his cellmate, while grabbing his diary again fast, before they capture him and open the iron door, aiming at the dog incident. After that, he hands Lenny a sharp piece of metal in order to cut the bag without wasting any time. He tells Lenny that today is the day to start over, and that he is obligated to do so. He then gives him the command to cut the rope. As soon as Evan was successful in convincing Tommy to refrain from carrying out the horrible act, Lenny stabbed him in the right side of his back, which ultimately led to Tommy's death. After another turn of the wheel of time, Evan finds himself paying a visit to Lenny in the facility, where he accuses him of being responsible for the present circumstance. After that, he makes the decision to begin looking for Kaylee, and he threatens her father to tell him where she is. When he finally arrives at her residence, he discovers that she is a prostitute who is in a horrible state, which is something he had not considered before. While trying to convince her about the facts, she does not believe him, and she expresses her disbelief by yelling and shouting at him that he is the fault. Evan makes yet another effort to fix it, and after the incident with the mailbox, he decides to save the mother and the baby. However, the mailbox explodes just as he is about to approach it and warns the lady from the bomb, while Tommy saves her from the blast. The next thing he knows, he is in another time frame and he is paralyzed and without arms. During the time that Lenny and Kaylee were attempting to assist him in adjusting to his new, miserable fate he faced, he starts sharing his heart thoughts with Kaylee. Even though she couldn't stand her dad, Kaylee admits to Evan that he is the only reason she stayed with her father. It was all for Evan, and they could have an amazing life and beautiful wedding and family together, and they could be the perfect pair. However, now she is with Lenny, and there is nothing that can change that. When he went to see his mother in the hospital, he found out that she was suffering from cancer. She started smoking, beginning with the terrible occurrence that took place with the mailbox incident. He was determined to change the course of time once more, and he found the diary with Lenny. He then dove back into the awful cellar when he decided to protect Kaylee from her father while holding a dangerous bomb in his hands. Things went out of control, and Kaylee ended up being blown to pieces. Once more, the wheel of time turns, and Evan finds himself in the mental facility, where he is questioned about his journal entries in his diary. He is informed by the physician that there are no diary entries and that everything he is imagining is a fabrication of his own imagination. He finally asks his mother for a home video they made in the past. And then the scene returns to the beginning, when he hides and writes under the table while the men from the institution are searching for him all over the building. He begins watching the video of his mother giving birth to him as a baby in the hospital, and he ends his mother's endless agony and his friend's twisted world by taking his own life in the process, knowing that he is the central cause of everything that has happened. The final scene brings about a positive transformation in the reality of the situation. Kaylee and Tommy move home with their mother. Their life is significantly improved, and the mother and the baby who was involved in the mailbox event are experiencing the same level of happiness as before the incident. Lenny celebrates his birthday with his family, and there is a lot of love in the air. After that, he graduates from college and Kaylee cheers for him. Kaylee is in the process of marrying her cherished spouse, and she gives him a tender kiss as the ceremony is taking place. The movie ends. In a nutshell, The Butterfly Effect is a super interesting thriller that dives into the consequences of time travel and the long-lasting effects of tough experiences. Ashton Kutcher's performance as Evan is really powerful, and the film's storytelling keeps you hooked. It's got cool themes about right and wrong choices, relationships, and how everything connects. If you're into mind-bending sci-fi with a touch of darkness, the director's cut that you witnessed just now is filled with some extra scenes, making it even more gripping and totally worth watching. If you enjoyed this recap from Recap Revelations, be sure to subscribe for a continuous stream of similar videos. Your support means the world to us, so don't forget to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks a million for tuning in.